Digital acceleration was on the screen and keep customers happy. We're talking about customer engagement in this next segment of this summit. We have a number of very interesting guests, and we have a couple of big topics. What's next for customer engagement? How are customers interacting with brands, and what role do bots and artificial intelligence play to optimize customer engagement? Let me start on my left side with a short Anne Bakker with Enreach. I saw on your website one of your promises is create contact magic. Introduce yourself, if you will, and where's the magic, Anne?
Thanks. Yeah, Anne Bakker, founder of Bot Squad. Since a year, we are now part of Enreach. Mm-hmm. At Bot Squad, we created a platform for building conversational applications. So those are turnkey solutions for bots, basically. And where do we create contact magic? I think this is where some of the magic is happening or will be happening, adding automation or adding conversational AI to conversations.
Give me one example.
I think a really nice one is, recently my car broke down. Mm-hmm. If you then call the Wegenwacht, the AMB, it starts with a conversation.
AAA.
Yeah, exactly. It starts with a conversation via voice. You call them. They ask you a couple of questions. You get an SMS.
You get somebody on the line, actually.
No, this is actually a bot.
Okay.
Where you just you indicate you have a problem. Mm-hmm. It's followed up by an SMS, and you add some more information, and then you get a little card that actually shows you when help is arriving. And I think that's for me at least, that was magic. You no longer you have questions about where is this car. You can actually see it coming your way, and it's a really nice play between going from voice, going to another medium, SMS or WhatsApp or any kind of chat message, and then creating a rich experience with a map.
And you don't mind that you don't get somebody, a live, real person on the line?
Well, in this case,
you don't mind.
Well, maybe if I was sentimental, I would. But
okay.
I think if your car breaks down, it's okay to get a bot on the line if it's followed up by action. So I think the frustration usually is getting trapped in these situations where you've got an urgent issue or you wanna get help. But this bot keeps you in some kind of a trapped situation. And you won't get out. And I think with these narrow conversations, people don't mind getting a bot or getting a human. The thing that matters is getting help in this case.
Yeah, being treated well.
Exactly.
Right. Jasper with AudioCodes, same thing. Introduce yourself briefly. And I read on your website that your goal is immediate innovation for your existing contact center platform. That's a mouthful.
It's quite a mouthful. I need to go and look where that is on the website. I hope it's not front and center, but it does make sense.
Okay.
So we're in the same ecosystem here, I think, on the table, and voice AI and automation of customer contact is a very important part of what we do, and innovation very much is so as well. But for large companies, institutions, dropping in these new technology islands into their operations, it's not always that straightforward. There's a lot of things you need to take into account: existing infrastructure, contact centers, underlying applications, and part of what we do is enabling that you can bring this innovation into your company or your organization while it all interoperates well and efficiently with high customer support levels. And it all interoperates and works together. So that's part of what we do.
Okay. We have also Gert-Jan Huizer. Your slogan with your company is very brief but powerful: trust the future.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Well, explain to us why. Not everybody trusts the future.
No, not everybody does, but maybe they should.
Okay.
Because the past is behind us, so let's look forward and trust the future. I'm Gert-Jan Huizer, heading up the EMEA activities for Mavenir Enterprise Connect. Mavenir is really a provider of end-to-end network solutions in the cloud for communication service providers. What Mavenir has been doing lately is add a lot of communication pieces to its portfolio. So they've acquired Telestax, that's where I came from. That's a communication platform provider. The APIs you hear a lot about, building blocks for communication. That's what we deliver. And besides that, also communication solutions and customer engagement tooling. And trust the future, coming back to that specific piece. we are enabling customer service providers. So what we do is we enable the party that provides trust to enterprise customers in the world.
Give me one
That's what we
example.
do.
You don't have to mention your specific your client, but what kind of companies do you help and what do you do for them?
For example, we help companies like Proximus in Belgium building communication solutions for its enterprise customers.
Proximus is, for those who are not familiar.
That's the incumbent carrier, the telecom carrier in Belgium.
Okay. And you do what for them? What
Well,
do you help
we
with?
provide them the building blocks to create communication solutions. So, for example, when they want to have a very simple SMS API for appointment reminders, that's what they can build very easily with the platform we provide.
Okay, wonderful. Enrico, Karsten, Anywhere 365. We've seen you before this afternoon. Then we discussed the issue, reduce all unnecessary dialogues. That was a little bit negative. Now I have a more positive slogan, enhance business communications. How do you guys enhance people's business communication?
To be honest, I think that reducing unnecessary dialogues is kind of positive.
Okay.
But
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I get you. Yeah.
But well, we were talking in a former meeting about reducing unnecessary dialogues, and that we think that time is, in essence, the most valuable part for our collective people in organizations, and yeah, the technology that we offer to do so is enriching business communications. But the fair point is that we've been seen as a contact center software delivery party over the course of the last years, while we in essence deliver contact center sort of technology in terms of all communications channels that are available, but we deliver them to everybody that needs them in an enterprise organization. So not solely in a contact center silo, but give them and spread them out of the organization. So the whole organization can benefit from the technology that we offer. And yeah, to come back to the unnecessary dialogues, make sure that all of the people are loosened up from the burden of having too many unnecessary dialogues and get more value of their time. That's in essence.
Okay. Let me start with you, Anne. You mentioned your experience when your car broke down, you called ANWB, Dutch AAA, and you had a good experience. I'm the kind of guy, when I'm on a website and I have a problem, I go to chat and it says, hi, I'm Jill, or hi, I'm Paul, or I'm whatever. But that's not Paul or Jill, no, it's a bot.
Yeah.
That annoys me. Am I the only one who annoys this?
No, I think it is a trend. On the other hand, people are also experiencing the other side, which is they call the company and they're in the queue, right? So you now have a situation where either you're going to be waiting in the queue, and that really annoys me, or you go to a website and you chat, and the bot will ask you some questions. As long as it leads to a solution, either by the bot or a human, I think it's okay. And if it is a shorter path to getting my problem solved, it is a good experience.
But quite often you go around in circles. You have a problem and you type in the problem, my package has not been delivered or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't understand your question. Well, my package is lost. I don't understand you go around, it sounds familiar, right? You go around in circles.
Yeah.
So one way or the other, something goes wrong, at least when you want to engage me as a customer. You're being a travel agent or a car company or a computer company, you don't engage me in a positive way.
No, I agree. And I think this is where we have to improve and where we have improved as an industry. I think the whole term, I don't understand you, of course, is strange, because either I wasn't trained for this, or
I have similar wording.
But they always say,
at least they
I don't
help
understand you. While in reality,
or
of course,
repeat.
it's not understanding at all. It's just trying to classify or trying to somehow find out from your sentence if it can somehow route it to the right location, and that's not working. And I think this is where we have to make sure that if this happens once, it's okay. If it happens twice, it's annoying. The third time around,
bye bye.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to you have to somehow route people to another to a human at that point, to say, well, at this point I can't figure out what you're after. But now you're being handled by a human.
And I guess, Jasper, it also has to do with the amount of money your clients want to spend. If they don't want to spend the money to have enough people on the phone, you have to do it with a bot. And if you don't want to spend too much on the bot, you have to do it in a poor way. So you run the risk of having clients, customers be unhappy or maybe even angry.
I think there's different aspects to what we're discussing, and we should separate them. The first question you asked was very interesting. Am I alone in this? No, you're not alone in this, but there's different groups of people that engage companies in different ways. And there are groups of people that are other than your own group. For example, young generation of digital natives that are completely used to interfacing with technology to get the answers that they want, either by web or contacting a bot.
My kids are definitely smarter than their dad.
And nowadays also by voice interface. So every person in the world knows how to speak, or almost everyone. And that's a universal interface to technology that the people are starting to use. So yes, you had a poor experience and you don't like talking to technology, that's fine. But there's other groups of people that do. And there's another aspect of the shelf life of a bad experience, which is significantly higher than the shelf life of a positive experience. What we are creating today with technology is very increases in customer experience, and believe me, they are there. And this is the only way how we can bring our technology to market. And then there's poor IT, which you seem to have come across in some instances. I mean, a package company that doesn't understand that your package has not arrived in a bot. That's unthinkable, right? So I can show you a dozen examples of the complete opposite, where people are delighted by 3 steps they can skip that they normally would have to go through with an agent who doesn't really understand everything either. And that's going straight to where you want to be, and within a second you have a WhatsApp confirmation on your phone that you have what you called to do has been accomplished.
Yeah, so this is not technology, this is the process that is in place. So
what
he is annoyed by is the fact that he already emphasized on the fact that this bot will probably not answer his question, so he wants to go straight through to the right person.
Yeah, which can,
I tried several times, after going around in circles, I did just X.
Yeah.
Assuming the system says, we need to get somebody on the line. And Jill saying, hi, I'm Jill and I'm a real person and can I help you? No, I don't understand your question.
Even that real person, believe me, at the background, that real person, in many of instances, there will be a bot on the background helping that real person, listening in on the conversation. That person doesn't know what he's talking about either, but when you say, my package hasn't been delivered, they get a prompt in front of them, please help him with his lost package, press this button. So you're talking to a person, but he's still being helped.
I think, to be honest, I have quite a lot of bad experiences with a big Dutch airline. Mm-hmm. Used to have a great service.
Is it a royal one?
I don't know. Not lately, I think. But at least, so I still love the company, so nothing about that. But the experience that you have there, talking to real life persons on different channels, with no execution on the right question, not a quick follow-up, but hours of spending before things get resolved, is far more annoying to me than when it comes down to, a little bit more time spent with a bot or whatever.
Depends on your frequent flyer miles, and the more you have, the different agents you get on the phone, believe me.
Yeah. So that's another thing, well, not to hang into this specific example, but frequent flyer. So it's basically about how to use technology, right? So I have filled in my details of my whole family, I think 22 times already. Then I contact them via whatever, WhatsApp or by phone. They recognize my number because they welcome me. Hi, you are blah 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 blah. Okay, and then the first contact that I talk to is gonna require every detail that is already in the system. So that about annoyance. This is wrong use of technology. Then you better not use it.
Does it sound all familiar to you?
It sounds familiar, but I think there are also companies who do it much better. Okay. And they already have engaged in conversations, more or less.
What's the secret then, that they do it better than other ones?
They really focus on the conversation itself. So they want to make it feel like very personal. And in the back, they do what came forward already. They gather a lot of information. It's all about gathering a lot of information and putting it in front of the person who is in contact with you. And then it doesn't matter which channel is being used. Preferably the channel the customer prefers to use at that time, at that moment, for this type of conversations. And when you do that, and you also create a history in that communication, then you almost engage in a personal relationship between company and the consumer, and that's really where you would like to be. Then it doesn't matter when you reach out to a customer with a proposal like, I've got a nice T-shirt for you and this is your size, it can be delivered tomorrow. then you like that kind of advice. And then it's not just pushing like some big selling organization, but it's part of the conversation. And that's why conversations in apps like Instagram and Facebook are so effective, because you think they're your friend. And I think that's something that really helps for companies to make this interaction much more better, effective, and rewarding.
Yeah, the thresholds of IT are getting lower and lower, and technology is not the stopping point. It's more and more it's execution and how you create intelligent, customer engaging business process. Yeah. We need smart people to use the technology.
At first it might be a little bit cumbersome, like your experience. But all those machine learning engines in the back, after 3 times, they should have learned that this is not the right way, and the next caller, they will get a better experience. And that's
hopefully
in my that's what
the next time I'm calling them, said, "Oh, we recognize this number. This was a gentleman who was not happy the last
they
time."
They don't answer you.
Try to make them happy.
So one of the things we deliver is we measure your voice while you're on the phone. When you're irritated, the things that we do with you are different.
I can hide it very well.
And your bad experience is noted in big data, because we know how many negative conversations there have been.
But that's a feature I have to buy from you. If I want a feature measuring, my tone of voice, I mean that's something I have to pay for if I buy it from one of you guys, right?
Yeah.
That's a quality issue, right? Yeah. So better beware, this gentleman is not happy, or this lady is happy, or okay.
But still only valuable if an organization is ready to onboard this type of technology in essence. So all the people are educated rightly, the processes are in place, they know their customer for one. Otherwise, this technology is not the holy grail that they're looking for.
I think that's a very important one. Education for the companies, education for the consumers who are using it. I think that's essential in making use of that new technology in the most efficient and best way. That's an important topic. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit, Jasper, about healthcare. I mean, we are in this pandemic. There are, huge amounts of people who have questions or are angry or scared or whatever. They're calling into hospitals, insurance companies, whatever. So that's big business for you guys, potentially, right? But you better do it right, because it's sometimes for people a life or death situation where they're calling about. Talk a little bit about healthcare and your opportunities there.
In a real crisis in which we are now, where you see peak loads on healthcare systems, it is hugely important. But you must realize that an infrastructure isn't used to quadrupling the traffic all of a sudden. Those things are not designed for it. So the last few years have been about enabling those systems to take on those volumes. And then when you have the technology in place, still to have the live agents available to talk to all these people without 15-20 minutes waiting time is another huge challenge. And this is where the technology does come in. So you can take all the easy questions, or the questions that are there the most, and you can automate them in an efficient way so people can quickly get the information or the transaction that they need. It's a great way of doing that to enable those situations. And then intelligent call routing of those cases that really require expert knowledge or an expert interaction, routing that to the right place together with all the information that the customer has already provided, the patient in this case, I guess, and delivering that to the right person. These have, over the last 2 years, have been major items for us. That's in healthcare alone. And that's even not talking about all those agents in contact centers that could no longer sit together in contact centers, that all of a sudden had to work from home. So all those.
Yeah, so healthcare is, I would say, behind its own tail for this matter. We were referring in the former meeting on the time that we are already spending on the new world of work for decades now, and I, for one, have been trying together with all my competitors and colleagues in the market to push also healthcare as an environment towards another way of working, and to see how much more efficiency we can adopt in the whole processes of offering healthcare. And then there were always good reasons to do not so, like legislation, of course, insurance companies, but also the belief in trust internally, systems, personal information, blah, blah, blah. All big challenges, but still they needed to be to overcome. They postponed that time over time, and now we come in a crisis in which they suddenly can adopt. So it happens. It really is happening now. So that's good news. But they already should have had it in place to cope with this crisis. So that's a little bit ambiguous.
I had the same experience. I called for a vaccination recently, and I noted I spent about 17 minutes, and it was an efficient conversation. But somehow they needed 17 minutes to ask me like all these no questions, like did you just no. It's almost like a bot both ways, right? Yeah. The agent was asking me questions like a bot, and I was answering like a bot. This is where I figured, this could have been automated, freeing up a lot of resources.
Exactly. Yeah. We've done this exactly, not in Holland, in the UK. We have automated this process with bots. It's hugely efficient.
Midway conversation, because I think that was a trick. So they open as a human. In some way, we've identified what to do, and then midway conversation is this robotic questionnaire, which could have been, I think.
Yeah, but the whole process, when you look at invitations for the vaccinations, why not use the technology of sending a WhatsApp message and then a reply to a calendar, which instantly replies back again with a time and a place?
Can't be that complicated, right?
No.
That cannot be complicated, but then we also need to tap into the population that we are reaching with this technology. And then if I look to my parents, so I don't know if they would adopt this type of reaching out.
I understand, but when 60% of the people do, then it opens up a lot of capacity for the other 40% to make that call or do something to get in contact with them.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it's a mix. It's a mix of old and new ways, and that's what companies have to think about, how to balance the various way of communicating with the customers and make it a good experience for everyone.
Let's zoom out a little bit and talk about a little bit more about innovation in general. History learns that during crises, pandemics, wars, economic downturns, innovation accelerates. Take the 2008 banking crisis. I mean, big companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft have grown tremendously in those years since this huge crisis. We may see the same thing. A question for does the pandemic, does Corona eventually, we can see that later on looking back, but will it accelerate innovation, for example, in your field?
I think, for sure. I mean, it forces people to be online, so it already creates a bigger population of people that you can create magic for, more or less. I think that the downside is for companies is trying to work on the innovation, because for instance, us joining Enreach was in the mid of this whole lockdown, and that makes it a lot harder to get things done. And so it's both ways. Big company. Because it's a big company, and you have no way to physically meet, which makes your onboarding a lot slower. And I think for lots of last Friday we tried to do kind of a hackathon online. That's completely different from doing a hackathon with people on a table. And so it on the one hand it creates opportunities for new things for new areas to be viable, because now there's scale. On the other hand, I think it's harder for companies to innovate, because I think the tooling is still not optimum for really creative processes. I think it is.
I would say the process for your company, what COVID is speeding up is more the adoption of the technology.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
In which the technology gets more enriched by intelligence and then gets more complemented also by Charles, instead of forcing you guys to innovate more.
Yeah.
I would say maybe the networking guys would innovate more now, because they need to stretch their capabilities in terms of workload, but
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, we've had a lot of conversation about customer contact, but just in the broader field of enterprise communications, like how companies communicate using telephony and video nowadays, and the pandemic has sent shockwaves of innovation through the marketplace. And one aspect is capacity. Indeed, all of a sudden everyone working from home. We don't have the systems for this, so there's been a lot of enabling that for us. But we have our vision ahead, of course, of the new way of work. What is it going to settle down to? So you see, when the pandemic comes in waves, when the wave goes down, the traffic goes up again. how are these things going to be corresponding? Are we going to keep driving back to the office whenever the pandemic is less? Or are we really pushing through with structural homework for certain tasks and live meeting for other environments? How is this going to be adopted in the marketplace? I know what it's like for me as a company and my ecosystems of IT partners who are all a bit ahead of the curve. But the market at large, where it's going to settle, is to me a big question mark. Yeah. What is it going to look like, this new landscape?
I would say the biggest innovation that this pushes is the transformation of how we look at organizations and what this really is in terms of knowledge, onboarding knowledge, commit to knowledge, and how they are commit. Well, a big example is what is called independent professionals, for instance, and how the focus on the European scale is there to force autonomous countries to legalize the way independent workers can contribute towards the organizations that we now know and support them. So maybe this is English words don't come up very easily. Independent workers are the biggest growing workforce in the European zone, and we are only supporting these by embarking their knowledge on a contractor's base. Well, they don't have support for education, for insurance, for finance and stuff like that. And I really think that we are on the, if it comes down to innovation from not a technology perspective.
So they may be engaged with not necessarily with your company, because
I think we're gonna see huge organizations that are not organized anymore by the structures that we know, like management and board of advisors, etc., but just a whole collective.
It's atomized in a way. I mean, all different.
A collective of independent workers that contribute towards the same goal. Yeah, I think
that's an issue.
Is it an issue?
Yeah.
I don't know. Why would it be?
Well.
No, but you know, the thing about organizations is organizations are fluid by definition. COVID is now forcing everybody to work in a different way. The environment changes again in a short time. Part of it will move back to the old world, will be a hybrid world. But I think what we are looking at now is that the hype is a little bit over. We have to get to the new equilibrium.
Mm-hmm.
And in the new equilibrium, everybody is, a lot of organizations are going to work completely different. A lot of organizations will go back to the way they were working before, and I think specifically knowledge workers, and that's the group probably you're referring to. That will totally change. Production workers, I think that will go back instantly to, because that's normal. And in this new normal, I think what will significantly have changed is the way we communicate within companies, between companies, on a worldwide scale. Because, for example, what I expect is that business flying will never go back to original levels. That I'm going on my first trip next week, and normally I was in a plane.
Or business convention
all the time
in Hawaii,
and yeah. So that really changes. So and all the technology.
Las Vegas, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, but all
those
the
conventions in Vegas. Yeah.
All the technology you guys talked about video and everything. It was already there, but we have now adopted it. We are using it in all kind of different fashions. We are able to connect it to all kind of applications. So from that point of view, it's great. But it is a new balance.
I do think that human interaction in meetings is going to be just about that, human interaction. Not so much about production or working. It is going to be about meeting. But there's other dimensions here. For example, large groups of people. That Las Vegas convention with 10,000 people. I don't know. Microsoft does 70,000 used to do a year, I think, coming together in Las Vegas. Forget it. It's 25. It's 30. This is going to be the new normal. Smaller groups, and when you meet, it's about interaction. Coming to decisions, catching up with each other, making sure everyone is looking pointed the right direction. Forget about working. We'll work at home, in our home office. We can be incredibly productive.
Brainstorm, creativity, that's where you see people come together again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for all kind of regular stuff, it's not.
But then back finally to customer engagement. One of my favorite, catchphrases about marketing and customer engagement: you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it, right?
Yeah.
And everybody knows it's true, and everybody knows it's important. Going forward, how do we, live up to that catchphrase? You never get a second chance to make a first impression. How do you help your customers, giving customers that experience?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you started the discussion with your bad experience, how you got trapped, and I think that's definitely not a magical experience.
No.
But I think there's also all kinds
Maybe
of
there are
cases.
magical solutions.
Well, we have the technology to make it a lot better. Yeah, I think we are lifting this technology now from an innovation space, and also due to COVID, to a kind of production space where it's really adding value. And I'm sure that by focusing on the dialogue and by focusing on the experience, we can create those magical moments. For me, for instance, the fact that I can just, with a WhatsApp message, book a tire change for my car, for instance, I really like it, because I can just send the message, put it down, and I get a confirmation later. I don't have to be in a call for a long time. So it's been really effective in certain parts, and I hope we can keep pushing these good experiences.
And there are
improve on the
forces
bad
at
one.
play. There's generation shifts in play. Younger generations, just talk to young people. They'll tell you, I don't want to talk to anyone on the phone. I don't even pick up my phone when it rings, even when I know who it is. I don't like phone conversations. I want interactions, very efficient interactions that provide me what I want. It's the new world, Sean.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a dilemma, because on the one hand, what you've seen in the past and nowadays still, a lot of innovators, they try to bring their products forward in a better fashion. It's never the best customer experience, but it's needed to learn from the experience and to really bring innovation to the next level. So when it is when the customer interaction is really extremely important for your company, I think you have to be very careful. Yeah. So you have to test it out and make sure that it works, and that at least the largest part of the interaction is positive. But on the other hand, you also have to create an environment in which you can make mistakes and learn from the mistakes and really innovate. So therefore, I'm saying it's a little bit of a dilemma. And I agree with your statement that the first time has to be right.
It's like in personal life. I mean, when you meet people within seconds, it's a great book, the book Blink. Talks a lot about it. When I meet you, after 2 or 3 seconds, I do have an impression of you, and you have an impression of me. Yeah. And that's crucial.
Yeah.
I think what is crucial is that you know your customer, basically, and then add up to what you know of that customer and the way that you're gonna engage with them. So the way you use technology to engage with them, the way that you help them with the right people, and on the other part, what I think is important, it's also nothing to do with technology probably, is that support or servicing customers. I see a lot of organizations, and also within our own organization, some people that tend to just feel that service and support is just a matter of fact, it's fact of life, it's just part of the deal. Instead of that, it's
not core business.
You need to understand that it's part of the experience of your customer. So that needs to be embedded in the culture and in the way you engage with customers. Otherwise, this first impression will sometimes be okay, but most of the times not be predictable, and that's, I think, one of the dangers.
Well, it's up to you to make, to increase the chance that it will be a positive experience, right?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.